Hola, it's Beto here, your daily divinity coach, here for episode number 12 of my weekly series, Sunday Weekly Revival. Sunday Weekly Revival takes place every Sunday here on Facebook Live, beginning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Episode number 12 is entitled Social Justice and Your Spirituality. So I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of time for people to join. If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and tag some folk that I know mentioned that they're planning to join. So I'm just going to tag some folk as a friendly reminder that we're on here. So please excuse this, but just want to make sure that everybody's aware that we're live here on Facebook Live for Sunday Weekly Revival. And today episode is episode number 12 here on Sunday, August 30th. Very excited about sharing this episode with you, and we'll just give some time for some folk to join. I'm tagging some people here just to let them be aware that we've started episode number 12 today, Sunday, August 30th. So we're just going to give some time for people to join. Going ahead and making these tags here. Just got a few more to go. I didn't realize how many people could potentially be tagged. But just want to make sure people have an opportunity to join us live again for this episode, episode number 12 here on Facebook Live today, Sunday, August 30th. So I'm just going to tag a few more people and then we'll go ahead and get going here. Okay, I think that's enough. All right, we got one. Hello, Francisco. We'll wait a little while longer for some more folk to join. But again, this is episode number 12 of my weekly series, Sunday Weekly Revival. Hello, Renee. Got some more people joining now. Entitled Social Justice and Your Spirituality. So I'm going to go ahead and give some more people time to join. But a little bit about myself. My name is Beto. Everybody calls me Beto. I'm your daily divinity coach. I post daily on social media, so written posts for Facebook, Instagram. I also put the post on Twitter and LinkedIn because I have people that follow me. I'm not particularly fond of that word follow, but I know social media is. So follow me on these different social media platforms. So I do that every day, well, except for today, Sunday, because on Sundays I do this live show, Sunday Weekly Revival. Hello, good morning. Buenos dias. But really excited about today's show, episode 12. Can't believe it's already been 3 months since we started this. Or just about 3 months now since we started these episodes. But Sunday mornings, I actually do this twice, this episode. I started out on Instagram. Hello, Patrick. I start out on Instagram actually 30 minutes before Facebook Live. So I do this show. For some reason, the social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook, although they're both owned by Facebook, don't allow you to do both live shows at the same time. So I do 30 minutes on Instagram and I flip over and do 30 minutes on Facebook. So doing this episode now for Facebook. So I do this every Sunday in addition to the written post every day. And I also have these wonderful bracelets that I give away for free. And there's a gray bracelet that says Manifest Justice. You can see there. There's a blue one that says Manifest Abundance. It's navy blue. And a black one that reads Manifest Immortality. So there's 3 bracelets there. I give them away as a set. I wear them all 3 at the same time, but some people wear 1 or 2. I know some people, I've had somebody say, I had a blue outfit on the other day, so I want to wear my blue bracelets. I wear my blue one, but not my black one or my gray one. You can wear them however you like. But I do produce them and give them away for free, just as reminders for you to, manifest justice, abundance, and immortality. Now, typically I only, because it's cost prohibitive to ship outside the U.S., so typically I just ship within the U.S., but because it's my birthday month, for the rest of the summer, anybody who lives anywhere in Europe, so you can live in Eastern Europe, Western Europe. Hello, Emma Lou. Shout out. So more people are joining now. But anybody who lives anywhere in Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, anywhere in North America, Canada, Mexico, I'll go ahead and ship these out in celebration of my first reverse birthday. I celebrated my first reverse birthday yesterday. Really excited about that. If you haven't joined before, I believe in manifesting immortality. I believe it's possible to not just slow down, but possible to stop and reverse the aging process. So that's part of manifesting immortality. And I believe in putting that into practice. So if you've passed your ideal age, so to speak, I believe in celebrating reverse birthdays. And so I celebrated my first reverse birthday yesterday. So very excited about that. So I do that. If you haven't gotten your bracelets yet, go ahead and message me and provide an address. I can ship that out to you. More than happy to do that. So I do some other services. I do some one-on-one coaching. So if you want to reach out, 45 minutes free. I don't charge. So, 45 minutes. We can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. If you want to talk about some content from one of my previous episodes or today's episode, or if you want to talk about something that's going on in your life, because I also do scientific prayer with folks. If you got a need you want to talk about, oh, thank you, Renee. Happy reverse birthday. If you have a need you want to talk about, we can spend 45 minutes and talk and pray through that. So, I offer my time as well, in addition to these bracelets and this show and my postings. So why don't we go ahead and get started with the content of this show. So again, the title is Social Justice in Your Spirituality. I'm going to go ahead and flip this here. So we're going to talk some numbers and go over some history, especially what's happened this summer, or since Labor Day, I should say. Not Labor Day, Memorial Day through Labor Day, or coming up Labor Day. On July 3rd, it was reported that there was between 15 and 26 million people in the U.S. that participated in Black Lives Matter protests. Now, there's been protests outside the U.S. It's been a global movement. But just within the U.S., 15 to 26 million people participated in Black Lives Matter protests as of July 3rd. So this was a while back. So as of July 3rd, a huge amount of people across the U.S. had participated in Black Lives Matter protests. I'm going to go ahead and take these glasses off. In addition, 40% of the counties in the U.S. had a Black Lives Matter protest. So 1,360 counties across the U.S. had held Black Lives Matter protests for these 15 to 26 million people, including me, that had participated in these protests. So it was a big movement, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of feet on the street. If you've heard me talk before, you know that I've been tutored and taught my oral history from indigenous Mexico, so my Mexica, my Azteca history, and that I believe that we're at the dawn of the fifth sun, and that the fifth sun is being ushered in by earthquakes. But my interpretation is not the earthquakes as we think of earthquakes, but the earthquakes of people marching on the streets, right, quaking the streets, ushering in change and ushering in this fifth sun. So these are the numbers as of July 3rd. A Monmouth University poll in 2015, so this was 5 years ago, reported that 51%, so just about half or a little bit over half of people in the U.S. saw racism as a big problem, right? So about half the people. Then there's a huge shift, right? In the wake of the killing of George Floyd by the Minneapolis police, which took place at the end of May there in Minneapolis, there was a real big shift. And that number, 51%, went all the way up to 76%, according to this poll. I know there's other polls that are out there and whatnot, but according to this poll, June 2020, so in the wake of the George Floyd killing there in Minneapolis by the Minneapolis police, 76% now cited that racism was a big problem in the U.S. So quite a leap. And then I got another poll I want to talk about. This poll was done in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a swing state. So sometimes it swings Democrats, sometimes it swings Republican, and it's been a swing state for a long time. And so Marquette Law School did a poll, and in mid-June, so mid-June of 2020, so a few weeks, 2-3 weeks after the George Floyd killing there in Minneapolis, 61% approved of the Black Lives Matter protests, right? 61% approved. So in a swing state of Wisconsin, we're over half. We're not quite at 76%, but we're over half. We're at 61%. But then Marquette did another poll, and this one was done in early August 2020. So it was before, what happened over the last week. Is before what happened there in Wisconsin, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, with the tragic shooting of Jacob Blake by the Kenosha, Wisconsin police. But in early August 2020, that number of approval for Black Lives Matter protests had gone from 61% down to 48%. So a little bit less than half now. So why the change? And this has been a point of discussion in quite a few conversations that I've had in the recent past. And some people, good friends, have said, well, Beto, the problem is we're seeing all these images of violence at these protests in Portland and Seattle, and people, it's negative, and these protests should be peaceful and whatnot. And, I understand that. But I think there's something deeper going on. Me personally, this is my personal opinion. I think it's something deeper than just that. And so I'm going to go ahead and flip this here, and we'll talk about what I'm getting at. Pope Francis. I'm going to invoke Pope Francis. So Pope Francis is the first Latin American pope, right? The first leader of 1.3 billion plus followers of the great teacher, right? He's the first Latin American pope. And 11 days ago, right, this was a few days before the tragedy there in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Pope Francis from the Vatican gave an address, something that he does regularly, and he gave a general address. And Pope Francis actually invoked liberation theology. He talked about liberation theology, which started back in the late 60s, late 60s, early 70s, so it's been a while. And back when it started, it wasn't mainstream. But it was started by Gustavo Gutierrez, a Peruvian systematic theologian. He actually taught, I'm in Boston, I studied divinity at Harvard Divinity School. Gustavo Gutierrez, the Peruvian systematic theologian, actually taught for a long while here in the Boston area at Boston College University. But Gustavo Gutierrez is the one that coined the phrase, this idea that the divine, right, and when I say the divine, I mean God, right? Some people say God, some people say Allah, some people say the universe, the great spirit, source. I use the word divine because I'm a pluralist and I teach all. So I teach Jewish folk, I teach Muslim folk, I teach Buddhist folk, I teach Hindu folk, I teach agnostic, atheist, Catholic, Protestant. I teach everybody. I'm a pluralist. So that's why I use the word divine, and I know others use the other words. But it's this idea of that the divine has a preferred option for the poor, for the oppressed, and that we need to get behind that, right? As our spirituality, and that's the title of this episode, is Social Justice in Your Spirituality. Is for your spirituality, you need to get behind social justice. And so Pope Francis, when he addressed 11 days ago, again, a few days before what happened there in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the shooting of Jacob Blake, he talked about how people have a desire right now to return to normalcy, to get back to business. And I really believe that's why we saw the numbers drop in Wisconsin. I'm sure other polls in other places would show the same thing, at least prior to what happened last Sunday, is because people are desiring to get back to normalcy, right? And it's almost like this idea, this is again me speaking, not Pope Francis, but this idea that in the US, that June, we did that Black Lives Matter thing, we did that social justice thing in June. That was a June thing, right? That's what we did in June. But, it's the end of August now, Beto, and we're dealing with schools openings, and in some places outside of Boston, they've already opened and closed and open again. We're dealing with that, and the extra financial aid, the extra unemployment insurance from the feds are gone. So people, they really need to get back to work to make ends meet and pay their rent. So, that was a June thing, I read the How to Be an Anti-Racist, and, I went out to a protest, or I gave some money, or whatever it was, whatever action you took, right? But now we need to get back to business, and, if it means law and order, it means law and order, if that's what it takes to get back to normalcy. And so, Pope Francis says, no. No. That is not the way to go, right? Pope Francis said, we can't, yes, we need to bring an end to this virus. Pope Francis talked about that. He also said that, his prayers are that when a vaccine is developed, that it doesn't just go to the rich, that it goes to the poor, it goes to everybody, right? That everybody, but especially the poor, aren't left out. But he also said that, this desire to go back to normalcy, it's not good for your spirituality, because normalcy was unarmed black citizens getting killed by the police, right? Normalcy is people going hungry, right? Is widespread poverty, is this rising gap between the rich and the poor, this rising opportunity gap, right, in education between white students and students of color. So he said, no, that's not it. That's not spirituality. It's not getting back to normalcy. He said we need to continue to put the poor and the oppressed at the forefront. That's spirituality. And he said it's not just about bringing aid, right? It's not just about, bringing food to the hungry, right? But it's about ending the structures. It's about systemic racism. It's about systemic economic injustice. It's about ending those structures. We have to get at the root causes of why people need this aid. They really should need this aid. If there was true abundance, as there should be, they would need this aid. So it's about getting at those root causes. And so I really believe that's why we saw the numbers drop in the approval, was this desire to get back to normalcy. But it's not good. That desire to get back to what was normal before is not good if we leave out the social justice piece. And that's why it's so important to your spirituality and my spirituality to keep that in the forefront. Now, a minute about me. So I know a lot of you here watching know me, and a lot will be watching the video recording know me. So I have two sons. My oldest son is Mexican, and my youngest son, his mom, I've been married twice, his mom is from Haiti. So he's African American and Mexican, and so he's black. And not only that, but he's an athlete. And I was watching this preacher, he's African American preacher, a few years back, middle-aged preacher, and middle-aged, I should do that. And he's talking about his son, and he's saying, his son is at the time was 17 years old. He said his son is a Division I athlete, like he's getting Division I scholarships to go play football. I think the kid was like 6'2", a couple 100 pounds, 210 or something like that, 215, 205, I'm not sure what he said. But he said, he's a big, strong kid, great athlete, active in the community. He does things for the homeless. He visits senior citizens. He's doing all the right things, good student. He said, but, what keeps us up at night, him and his wife, is this concern that the police don't see his son as a kid, just a good kid who's doing good things, positive things, going to go play D1 football at a university on scholarship. But rather they see him as, somebody who could be 25 years old, right? He's walking the streets, a police officer could see him as being somebody who's older than he is, right? Who might be mischievous and stuff like that. And he said, it shouldn't be like that, right? It shouldn't be like that. And for me, it's the same thing. My ex and I talk about this. It shouldn't be like that, but we do worry. Our son is just turned 15. He's now just about 6 feet tall. He's 185 pounds, just as my father predicted. He's developing his Division I body, right? He plays rugby. He's a really good athlete, big. He's energetic, loves people, always smiling. He resells sneakers. He's just a kid. He's just a teenage kid. But because of the way he looks and his his physique and everything, he could be mistaken as a 20-year-old or even older person, who might be a little mischievous and whatnot. And we should not have to worry about that, but we do. And that's why this movement, the Black Lives Matter protest, is so important to our family, right? Because this needs to end for everybody, but it's personal for us. And I know it's personal for a lot of you that are watching. Don't get me wrong, I'm concerned and I worry for both of my sons. But obviously, my youngest one, there's just that extra sense of worry. So just want to mention that on a personal note. But to get back to the notes here, so Pope Francis, talked about Pope Francis. So what happened 7 days ago? So Jacob Blake, I know there's different reports. I've read the different reports. Some say that he had a knife. Some eyewitnesses say that he didn't have a knife. Either way, he did not have a firearm with him when he was shot in the back 7 times by Rustin Sheskey. Now, I'm not here to bash the police. I have extended family that are police officers. I've got a cousin in the LAPD. I know we got people here watching who have relatives, family members that work for police departments. A good friend of mine runs the youth boxing program at our neighborhood YMCA. He's a police officer. Love him. He loves my son. If there's, God forbid, if for some reason I needed to an intervention, I would bring that officer in, as well as the officer of one of the people watching right now. I would bring those two in because I really trust them, and they're out in the community and they're doing great things. So my intention is not to bash the police. Not at all, but just to bring light to what's going on and why we need to support social justice for our spirituality, right? So anyhow, Rustin Sheskey, Jacob Blake, apparently there was some sort of scuffle going on. Blake was walking to his car. His back was turned to Sheskey, and Sheskey shot him at close range in the back 7 times. Jacob Blake's family says that he is now paralyzed from the waist down. And this took place last Sunday around 5 o'clock, I believe, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It led off protests there in Wisconsin and across the U.S. Protests started up again in light of this tragedy. And then another tragedy happened, right? 2 days later, unbelievable. 2 days later, this 17-year-old kid with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, there amongst a Black Lives Matter protest, Caucasian kid. He was not there to support Black Lives Matter. He was there to, I guess, patrol and help business owners from getting looted or something of that nature. Nonetheless, he's walking through a crowd with his AR-15. He ends up shooting and killing. He shot 3, killed 2, Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum. I mean, just a tragic thing that occurred right there. Now, interestingly enough, this 17-year-old was allowed to walk away from the scene. He actually walked by the Kenosha police and walked away from the scene of the crimes. The police say that there was just so much going on. They didn't know what happened, whatnot. But nonetheless, he did. He walked away. They caught him later. I believe it was in Illinois, and now he's been charged with homicide. But just 2 tragedies, right? 2 tragedies that occurred last Sunday and then 2 days later that has brought Black Lives Matter right back into the forefront, right? People thought it was a June thing. It's not a June thing. This is an ongoing thing. And it's so important to your spirituality. It really is. So what's happened since these 2 tragedies? Sports, the world of sports, the NBA and the NHL, right? Basketball and hockey leagues decided to suspend the playoff games in protest of the tragedy there in Kenosha, Wisconsin with Jacob Blake. In addition, the Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA, the MLB, Major League Soccer had games also postponed in protest of what happened there in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So this is Black Lives Matter, again, back in the forefront as a result of what happened there in Kenosha. And then 2 days ago, we had the commitment march there in D.C., right? Al Sharpton spoke, Martin Luther King III spoke, victims of the families of police violence, including members of the Blake family, the George Floyd family spoke. And there's one thing that Reverend Al Sharpton said that really spoke to me, and he said that, this is not ending. This is not, we got to continue. We got to continue to push forward. We got to continue the fight. And this is me speaking now. And it's really about our spirituality, right? Your spirituality and my spirituality. Social justice is foundational because, I speak a lot about the fifth son, about when immortality manifests. And it's foundational to our spirituality because the social justice piece, as well as the divine justice piece, right? That higher piece, it is what opens that door to that manifesting that immortality. It's what opens that door to that higher level of manifesting abundance. And I talked I believe it was last week, about manifesting abundance and how, yes, there's the material abundance, right? People want cars, they want homes, they want clothes and all those things. And they're all good things. But there's this higher realm of abundance, which is this peace, the peace that surpasses all understanding. And the justice thing is that door opener to the peace that surpasses all understanding, which is the door opener to manifesting immortality, right? Stopping, reversing the aging process. So it's all connected. It's all connected. And I know a lot of people try and isolate things and put things in buckets and whatnot, but in regards to your spirituality, it really is all connected. And that's why this is so important. I failed to mention, but I'm going to mention now, that the Commitment March was on the 57th anniversary of the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech. So it's very historic, not just now, but invoking Martin Luther King Jr. and what he did there, and his speech there in Washington, D.C. 57 years ago, that's had such an impact on our national consciousness, not just nationally, but globally, had such an impact. But I'm going to go ahead and end there. I think the message has been shared. I really do I am very grateful, I should say, for your participation, for joining today for episode number 12 of my weekly series, Sunday Weekly Revival, which entitled Social Justice in Your Spirituality. And thank you. I know people have been posting, and some of you even beforehand yesterday called and sent texts. I thank you for my happy birthday wishes for my first reverse birthday. I'm very grateful. And please, if you don't have your bracelets, reach out. Would love to get those out to you. Free shipping if you live in North America or Europe, as gratitude for my first reverse birthday. And I will be back here again next week, every Sunday, beginning 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, here on Facebook Live for my weekly series, Sunday Weekly Revival. Bless you. Bye-bye.